Welcome everybody to the Miami Dolphins playoff preview. We're going to talk a little bit about this playoff game that's going to happen tonight. Today is January 13th, 2024, and the Dolphins have made the playoffs in back-to-back years. I did make a video about them making a playoff last season, but I didn't talk anything about playoffs, nor I ever did a recap or anything like that, because it wasn't part of the new content theory that I wanted to do, or did. But now, I'm going to do it right now, and we're going to start with this preview. So, when we look at the playoff history for the Miami Dolphins, the playoff record has been pretty stale, which is pretty unfortunate. So, when we look at the playoffs, they made the playoffs They made the playoffs half of the time throughout the 70s. And in the 80s, they were pretty good. They made about 5 playoff appearances in the 80s. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. That was roughly around the time that Dan Marino was about to come in town. The 70s, with Bob Tracy, with that undefeated season in 72. In the 70s alone, 1970, 71, 72... So 71 was when they made that Super Bowl, but they ended up losing to the Dallas Cowboys. That was the first Super Bowl appearance. Then the following year, 72 playoffs, they won the Super Bowl, and that was the undefeated season. And that's 3 straight playoff appearances after that, including that crazy undefeated season. So they were that good in the 70s. 73. Another Super Bowl win, that's back-to-back, that's 1973. That was against the Minnesota Vikings. The other one with the undefeated season was against the Redskins at that time. 74, they did make the playoffs. They had a division round, but ultimately losing to the Oakland Raiders. That was a 74. And then 78 and 79, both were in the playoffs, and they lost to the Houston Oilers in 78. And in 79, they lose to the Steelers. So, how many times they made the playoffs in the 70s? I want to say about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, it's 7. So, 7 playoff appearances in the 70s. That's how great they are. 2 Super Bowls to show for it, including the undefeated season. Like I said, with the 80s, when Dan Marino was coming in town, they had a Super Bowl run to the to the Redskins, and Redskins got revenge on the Dolphins. That was their 4th Super Bowl appearance for the Dolphins. And then in 83, they made the playoffs in the divisional round. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks when the Seahawks were at the time were part of the AFC conference before moving to the NFC eventually. Then in 84, they did make the Super Bowl playoffs. They did make it to the Super Bowl, but got their asses kicked by the 49ers, which sucked, which sucked. And that would be their last Super Bowl appearance. That'll be their last Super Bowl appearance, and that was in 84 playoffs. So 2024 minus 1984 is 40 years they have made it to the playoffs. But that does not mean they have not gone into the playoffs. They just don't make it to the Super Bowl anymore. 85, they almost did. 85 playoffs, they beat the Cleveland Browns, but lose to the New England Patriots in the conference championship. That kind of sucked. In the 90s were also really good. In the 90s, they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the 90s as well. So Dolphins, pretty good. You know why? Don Shula is still their coach. So in 1990, they made it to the playoffs. They beat the Chiefs then, but lost to the Bills, and that was when Jim Kelly was part of that team with the Buffalo Bills, and we owned the story with the Buffalo Bills going to the Super Bowl 4 straight times, but ultimately losing all 4 of them. 92, they also made it to the playoffs and made it all the way to the conference final until they lost to you know who, Buffalo Bills. 94. Playoffs, they beat the Chiefs, and they lose to the San Diego Chargers at that time. And then they wind up losing in the divisional round. 1995 playoffs, they lost to the Bills there. in the wild card. 1997, they would make the playoffs, but losing the Patriots in a wild card, so losing divisional rivals sucks. But in 1998, they would make it back to the playoffs, wild card, and they did beat the Bills. Problem is, they ran into John Elway and the Denver Broncos, so that was bad. The score was bad, 3-38. Then 1999, they made it back to the playoffs, beating the Seattle Seahawks before moving to NFC, and then what would be Dan Marino's final game of his career, and got slaughtered by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was bad. I don't want to bring it up to anyone who watches Dolphins for a long time. Then we get into the 2000s, which is around the time Tom Brady coming into town. But Dolphins did make the playoffs in 2000. They beat Indianapolis in overtime, and that was when, I think that was around the time Peyton Manning was quarterback, and so we did beat Peyton Manning. And then we lost to the Oakland Raiders. We got shut out by the Raiders, so that kind of sucked. And then I think we know the rest of that story with the tuck rule. Then Tom Brady's career kind of flourished. 2001, we made it to the playoffs in the wild card, and we lose against Baltimore. 2008 is the same thing. 2016, we lose to the Steelers. And then 2022, we lost to the Buffalo Bills. So in 2000, winning against Indianapolis in overtime, that was December 30th, 2000. That was the last time we have won a playoff game. During that time span, the Patriots were winning Super Bowls. The Jets were going to AFC championships. Peyton Manning's career would be on the rise. Eli Manning's career would be on the rise. Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger was going up. Russell Wilson was coming in town. Larry Fitzgerald, Aaron Rodgers. Their names are starting to pop up more. And Phillip Rivers, too. And then you got Colin Kaepernick, San Francisco 49ers that are just dominant during that span. And in that span alone, we made the playoffs. We made the playoffs roughly about 6 times during that span. And this is what we lead to right now. So take a little preview series here. And then we have a game tonight where we could have had a home game against the Bills, but we have a away game against Kansas City Chiefs. When we look at the head-to-head record with the Kansas City Chiefs, the record's equal. Series tied record, 16-16. This is sort of like a rubber match. The Dolphins didn't have much good luck against the Chiefs in the 60s. But they know how to. But they had a good. At the time, they had a good history. But then Andy Reid takes over the Chiefs, and Andy Reid is undefeated against the Dolphins in the Chiefs coach since. And that's where we are right now. Our last time we lost to the Chiefs was, well, a couple months ago. I remember talking about that. You Chiefs fine people coming in and talking about how the Dolphins have a good future. Well, it's our chance to prove it here tonight. However, in this wild card game, we have problems. I think, and that goes for same for Kansas City as well. We have big time issues. Here are the issues that I'm going to bring up, and Kansas City, you will know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to unplug this. So right now, as you can see right here, Kansas City is 6 degrees. Snow is, at this time of the recording, is dropping down. So the game is at 8 o'clock, and the 8 o'clock start is this temperature. 6 degrees below zero. And it's at nighttime, which means it's going to be really, really cold. And if you add the wind gusts, it would be pretty windy tonight. And they're saying roughly about minus 30 degrees or 35 degrees below zero wind gusts. That is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Right now in Kansas City, the real feel is 11 degrees below zero. Imagine the horror tonight when the game comes up in 8 o'clock, and that's going to be on Peacock, man, mind you. So I'm very worried about the players. Not just for the Dolphins, because Dolphins hardly experience anything like this because they're always in Florida. But I'm also worried about the Chiefs players, and I'm worried about the fans. I'm worried about you people. If you're going to the game, please bundle up if you're able to. I know a thing or two about cold weathers because I lived through it. My point here, this is a type of temperature that could get you hyperthermia, frostbite. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying be prepared. Please bundle up. Please be careful. Stay warm. And if it's worth it for y'all, that's worth it for y'all. But for the Dolphins, they have a tough task ahead of them. They're not used to this kind of weather. They're not. This might be the third coldest game in NFL history. I am not kidding. Not kidding at all. And I'm actually gonna look this up right now because I kind of forgot to do so. NFL coldest games ever. So when we look at the coldest games on record, we have a game at December 31st, 1967, and Lambeau, Green Bay Packers versus Dallas Cowboys. That temperature was 13 degrees below zero with the wind chill of 48 degrees below zero. That's crazy. That is crazy. The second coldest game ever in NFL history, as I'm about to go on their website right now. There's January 10th, 1982. They referred as the Wind Bowl or something like that. That was the AFC Championship game at Riverfront Stadium. I think that was with Cincinnati going up against San Diego, and it is. It says it right there. It says it right there. 9 degrees below zero. The wind chill is 59 degrees below zero. Oh my goodness. As of right now, this time of recording, January 10th, 2016, TCF Bank Stadium. I think that's the college stadium for Minnesota, and that was when the Vikings took on the Seattle Seahawks, and we all know what happened in that game. The kicker missed the 27-yarder. That was just bad. But anyway, temperature of that game was 6 degrees, and the wind chill was 6 degrees below zero, and the wind chill is 25 below zero. I'm going to say this. This game coming in tonight, that's going to break that record. This will be the third coldest game in history. So, be careful out there. It's going to be cold. And for the Dolphins fans, whatever happens tonight, I am eternally grateful for you guys to come in and watch these videos and starting the conversation. And thank you guys for coming in. And I plan on doing this again next season. No matter what happens, I'm glad I went in this journey with y'all. And hopefully, let's get this win. Let's finally get our first playoff win in 24 years. We'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, whatever happens, I'm glad to be part of the journey with y'all. And I'll definitely see you more next season with the Dolphins. But regarding everything else for tonight, there's 3 games. There's the Panthers, there's the Hurricanes, and then there's one. But obviously, my main priority for the whole thing tonight is this one. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video, folks. If you have enjoyed this video and the preview, hit the like button, subscribe to our content, because Miami TVG got your back. And when he does, hit me right there with your fan entertainment you deserve. This is Miami TVG. Saying up, folks. Good night, everybody.